Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jane Ezike from To Take Action, and we're so excited to have you here. So, today's session is part of our 16 Days of Activism Against Gender Based Violence campaign. And this year's theme reminds us that every 10 minutes a woman is killed. There is no excuse. So we must unite to end violence against women and girls. Today we are talking about something crucial, the law. Because knowledge of your legal rights is power. We are exploring gender justice and Nigerian law, specifically how the law protects women and girls in digital spaces. What are your rights and how to actually use the law when you experience online gender based violence? So, this is a safe space. If anything triggers you, do well to take care of yourself, drop your questions in the comments, and we're going to address all the questions later. And please share this live with someone who needs this message. I'm thrilled to introduce our experts for today. Barrister Sarah Kajere Peters, Esquire. So, Barrister Sarah is a distinguished legal practitioner and a true champion for justice. She is a law graduate from the prestigious Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and holds a master's degree in conflict, peace, and strategic studies from Kaduna State University. Currently, she serves as a senior state counsel at the Kaduna State Ministry of Justice, where she prosecutes cases, drafts legislation, and defends the state government in court. She's also the secretary of the Legal Drafting Department and a member of the Secretariat Law Review Committee. But what makes Barrister Sarah particularly perfect for today's conversation is her extensive work on the front lines of gender based violence prevention. She is a secretary of the Taskforce on Human Trafficking in Kaduna State, deputy state coordinator of the Child Protection Network. She's also a state coordinator for multi-tier legal aid on access to justice for children. And perhaps most relevant to us today, she actively champions the fight against gender-based violence affecting women, children, and youths and girls. She's also the chairman of the Christian Lawyers Fellowship of Nigeria, Kaduna branch. She serves as a welfare secretary for both the Nigerian Bar Association Kaduna branch and the Federation of International Women Lawyers, FIDA Kaduna branch, and she is a UNICEF Focal Person. Beyond the courtroom, Barrister Sarah is a peace ambassador, an ADR expert, an astute mediator, and a regular presenter on TV and radio programs discussing gender-based violence issues. She's also a member of the Technical Working Group on the Prevention of Conflict and Violent Extremism in Kaduna State. In short, we have with us today someone who doesn't just know the law, she's actively using it to protect and empower survivors of violence every single day. Please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Barrister Sarah Kajere Peters. We are so honored to have you here today. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thank you, Jane. It's so good to be here with you guys, to be able to talk, discuss, and I'm so glad seeing your beautiful face once again, Jane. And everyone that is listening, stay tuned because we have some good talk to talk about today. Thank you very much.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Barrister Sarah. This session is going to be an interesting session, a very, very interesting one. So let's start with the foundation. Can you give us an overview of Nigerian laws that address gender based violence, particularly in digital spaces? Because this year's theme is Unite to End Digital Violence Against Women and Girls. What legal protections exist for women and girls experiencing online harassment, cyberstalking, image based abuse, or other forms of digital gender based violence?
Okay, Jane. Like I said, I'm so glad to be here, and everyone listening to me. I will just share my thoughts and little knowledge I have about gender based violence, technological facilitated gender based violence, and then gender based violence generally. So I say, gender justice now extends beyond physical space. It goes into digital platforms where harassment, exploitation, and discrimination can occur. Women and girls increasingly exposed to cyberbullying, non-consensual image sharing, online stalking, impersonation, fraud, and digital blackmail. So the key legal protection for women and girls in Nigeria, online and offline, that's the legal framework we're talking about that serves as a deterrence or protection for women and girls who are being violated. Mind you, even men too are being violated. I champion for men too who are being violated. So when I talk about women, girls, sometimes I always have to put up the men because some of them are violated by some women too. So it's quite good that the law protects everyone, but mostly women and children. So the first law, which is the ground norm law for the country, Nigeria, is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999. That's where it provides, to be particular, talked about Chapter 4 of the Constitution, which provides a detailed lay down right of every human being that exists in Nigeria. It's called the fundamental right of a person, and the law provides that there should be no section 43 provides that there should be no discrimination of any sort against a person based on his gender, his sex, whatever form, religion, color, whatever it is. Nobody should be discriminated in any way, in any form. Be you a male or female, be that you are from the north, you are from the south, or you are from the west, your religion, or whatever it is. No one should discriminate you in any form. And you have the right to seek legal redress to address whatever right has been violated. So the Constitution, which provides guarantees human dignity, privacy, freedom from discrimination, and personal liberty, and then protects digital rights under provisions for privacy and expression. That's where the digital rights falls in. The provision that provides to protect digital rights under provisions for privacy and expression. You have the right of freedom of expression. Your private life, nobody should intrude. Nobody should intrude into your life. That's fundamental right provisions of that Constitution provides for that. So you have the Cyber Crimes Prohibition Prevention Act 2015. This is the major law that criminalizes all sort of cyber stalking, online harassment, non-consensual
Barrister, we can't hear you.
I don't know. You know they enter me this yourself. I don't know whether you're entering me. You're entering me.
Hello, Barrister Sarah. We can't hear you. We can't hear you anymore.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Okay, we can hear you now.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, so I'm picking it from the Cyber Crime Prohibition Prevention Act 2015, where it lays down a lot of crime that are done online. It criminalizes cyber stalking, online harassment, non-consensual intimate image sharing, identity theft and impersonation, computer-related fraud and extortion. It provides mechanism for investigation and as well as prosecution. Then you also have the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, which is the VAB law, in VAB Act 2015, and in Kaduna State, we also have the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law 2018. Also, this VAB Act covers psychological and emotional abuse, including acts committed digitally. That's the provision of the VAB Act. It addresses sexual coercion, harmful practices, and threats delivered online. Since we're talking about the digital facilitated gender-based violence and the law. Also, we have the Child Rights Act, which also protects minors from sexual exploitation, grooming, trafficking, and harmful digital content that violates the rights of children. That's the Child Rights Act. In Kaduna State, we call it the Child Welfare and Protection Law. Other states calls it different names, but it all encapsulates in the Child Rights Act, which provides for the protection of the rights of every child, be it digitally, online, and offline. And there should not be any sexual or any trafficking or all kinds of violence that should be committed against a child. Also, we have the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation 2019. The Nigerian Data Protection Regulation 2019. It safeguards personal data, images, videos, and digital identifiers of a person. And such regulation regulates all sorts of crimes that will be committed against an individual in such areas. Then the digital offenses that women and girls commonly face. I will now state there now clearly. You can see how these various laws that I've mentioned, these various acts that I've mentioned that protects the rights of women and children online, digitally, to safeguard them from all forms of violence that is perpetrated online. Since this year team, we're united to stop all forms of violence, digital facilitated violence against women and girls. I mean, I will always include men because there are men that are listening actually. They should not be left out, and there are boys too. But I know I'll focus on women and girls. Okay, so some of these digital offenses include, just as stated before, I want to outline them so that it will be clearly stated: online sexual harassment, revenge porn, image-based abuse. I've had cases like that. I'll make reference of such cases as time goes on when we continue. I have live scenario and live cases that I've attended to as a legal practitioner and as a gender-based violence activist prevention. We have fake profiles and identity theft. We also have cyber stalking and doxing. We have sextortions. I have case of sextortion, very, very, very vital case of sextortion, and blackmail. We have deep fake misuse, online fraud targeted at vulnerable groups. So we have the, navigating digital evidence. Okay, so basically, so these are the laws, like I've said, and the laws have outlined some of these offenses or violence or gender-based violence that are being perpetrated against women and girls online, majorly, which I have highlighted and as you have heard. So I think I've been able to talk about the various laws as it is that we are aware of and that we know how they take to protect the rights of the girls and the women.
Okay, so thank you so much for that comprehensive overview. Like you mentioned the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, which is the VAPA law. You also mentioned
Yeah,
the Cyber Crimes Act 2015 law. Then you also mentioned a lot of criminal and penal codes, state level legislation laws that exist. So
yeah.
for our audience, it's important to know that these laws exist. Like Barrister Sarah has helped us break these laws down. I want to ask a question, and I'm sure that everyone on this live also have this question, and even those that will be joining later. Would you say that these laws that we have are adequate, or are there gaps we should be aware of? Do you think these laws are adequate?
Sorry, Jane, I didn't get your question well. Maybe you can take it again.
Okay, so I asked for our audience, it's very important that they know that these laws exist. But we would like to know if this, do you think, or would you say that these laws are adequate, or are there gaps we should be aware of?
Okay, you can see I'm wearing my facade to tell you that I'm in the spirit. I went to court, but you can see I'm wearing this so that to tell you that we are in this movement together. This gender-based violence must stop. It should be prevented by all means. Okay, we're talking about adequate laws, adequate regulations to all their gaps. Yeah, in fact, Jane, I will tell you we have a lot of laws in the land. We have a lot of laws in the country. We have a lot of laws in the state. But what is most paramount is the implementation of these laws. That's what we're talking about. It's not sufficient. I would say we've not achieved major milestones or we've not achieved great success. We have, mind you, I got a conviction yesterday on a gender-based violence, sexual gender-based violence in court yesterday. We're making progresses, we're making successes. We're making against a girl that was raped. I got some, my colleagues got some last week. So we're getting convictions and we're recording successes. We have to speak loud as our victory so that people will know that indeed we are getting, successes in this fight against gender-based violence. But to be honest and be candid, there are gaps. I won't tell you that the laws we have are being implemented to the fullest as it should. As you know, as a country, as a nation, we are trying, we are making effort. But there are a lot of bottlenecks that sometimes hampered or, tend to slow down the progress that you are making. But that doesn't mean that we've not made progress. We've not had successes. We've had successes. Like I told you, I can go on and give you cases, online and offline cases that I've handled that we've gotten success. Let me give you a story. We're talking about online stalking. I have a young lady who was actually dating a guy with the mindset that, okay, maybe they could get married. But the relationship became toxic. At a point, the boy cloned her phone. This her boyfriend cloned her phone, and because the relationship was becoming toxic, and she was now no more interested in the relationship. But the guy, he started stalking her. He started bullying her through cyber activities, online text messages, Facebook, saying all kinds of things, defaming her character. In this case alone, we have about how many digital facilitated gender-based violence. And when I was called upon and I got hint of the case, and I called her and we went to the police station and we filed a complaint and the case was lodged. And the so-called perpetrator, the moment he got a summons from the court, he started shaking, he started fidgeting, and started begging, started sending texts, started apologizing, started begging. Oh no, I won't do this again. All we wanted was deterrence, and we employed the law at our tip, and we employed the law and we used it in the courts, and it was successful for us. And the moment that case was filed, and the guy went about apologizing and begging, and that's what we wanted. We wanted deterrence. We wanted him to stop stalking her. We wanted him to stop cyberbullying her. We wanted him to stop defaming her in whatever way online that he was doing. And we got success on that. That's just one case I could tell you of that we got success of. We have so many of them, but that doesn't mean that that's sufficient. Like you said, there are gaps indeed, actually. The law is still yet to cover some little online cases that are cropping up that we need the law to really be amended to bring them in. But that doesn't mean that we've not made some great successes, just like I told you. We have, but there's no system that is perfect, right? And the law evolves. When you pass a law today, tomorrow you find out that there will be a gap that the law did not cover. So that will mean you need an amendment so that it can incorporate the new gap. Or imagine online gender-based violence that that was not captured before. Before, there was no offense like sextortion, but because of the emerging new trends of cyber online gender-based violence, we have an offense that is called sextortion under NAPTIC. And that offense is just simply a lady or a guy, nude picture of that person, and another person blackmailing the other party, maybe the female, blackmailing her because what they shared in private, he threatened to bring that in public if she doesn't give him money, if she doesn't do something with him, if she doesn't sleep with him, if she doesn't do something with him. He would threaten to, post such a video. And sometimes it's for monetary gain. And if she refused to do that, he goes ahead and posts it, and that will bring her to the public light, and then her privacy is being, violated. Now, that is extortion. Naked pictures of a male or a female that was done in private and then brought to the public. That's a crime. The law did not know this before. The only offense we know is the man raping a girl or molesting her sexually, which is not online, but now we have sextortion online now. So those are the gaps that were identified in time past, and then the NAPTIC took care of that, and it's an offense today. So that's why I was saying, of course, there you always find gap as much as you go into the implementation of such laws. Gaps will come up. All we seek for is to amend the law to incorporate the new trend of the digital facilitated gender-based violence, to incorporate it into maybe the VAB law or the penal code law as we have it in another state, and the criminal code law as we have in the southern states. So it depends. So we wouldn't say there will be no gap. There would always be, but it's how to fill it that is more important so that it can align with the emerging trends of digital facilitated gender-based violence, just to prevent it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Barista. So that's a lot. Like you said, there are gaps, but the law is all up to the law to make amendment to the existing laws or create new ones to be able to fill those gaps. We're going to come back to this session because I feel like there are more to be said in this session, especially what are the laws that what are the laws against extortion and so on. We're going to dive back into the technical aspect. But let's move on to our next question. So, one of the biggest challenges with online gender-based violence is proving it happened. Like when you were giving the example of the lady who her boyfriend or her partner, when they were in a relationship, they recorded some nude videos. Then when they left the relationship, the guy is using the nude videos to threaten her. So one of the things that came to my mind was, how could she prove that? How could she prove? Does she have evidence that says that, oh, while we're in this relationship, we agreed to keep this private or something? So one of the biggest challenges with gender-based violence, online gender-based violence, and those facilitated by sextortion is proving that it happened. So screenshots can be dismissed, profiles can get deleted, messages can disappear. Can you walk us through how to properly collect and preserve digital evidence? What makes evidence admissible in Nigerian courts, and what mistakes should people avoid? Um, Barrister Sarah,
Okay, my mic is actually muted. Yes.
your mic
So
was
when it
off, so
comes
you
to
had to start from the
yes,
beginning.
yes, I have. Okay, so when it comes to evidences in court, like you said, for you to prove a case in court, your evidence must be solid. And most of these cyber crimes online, they are criminal in nature. And when you say criminal in nature, they are offenses that are committed against an individual, but it's against the state itself, because the state has legislated on it and it has given prohibitions against such offenses, and it has given punishment, sanctions against whoever that is convicted of such crimes as it has been, stated down in the law. Now, it is proved beyond reasonable doubt. I want you to know that. And for you to prove a case beyond reasonable doubt means you must adduce evidence, credible evidence before the court, that the court will believe that indeed these facts you are presenting before it is actually what really happened. The evidence, the witnesses you are bringing, the exhibits, which could be your phone, it could be a text message, it could be a printout from your phone, it could be a printout from a laptop, it could be a printout from a desktop, it could be your Facebook page, it could be an SMS that was sent to you, it could be printed out in a sheet of paper, but there's what we call certificate of compliance, which you must file before a court to say that this message I'm bringing out from his Facebook page was actually printed with the right phone. This is not this. You give vivid detail of the source of that information before the court. And there's what we call certificate of compliance, which you must file before the court, that the court can now use as evidence before the court. So you see, these are online evidence we're talking about. Uh, uh, your Facebook page, your handles, the SMS messages. So that's why when such online offenses are being reported to me, what I begin to ask the victims or the survivor is, what evidence do you have? Let me see your phone. Are there text messages? Are there WhatsApp messages? Are there Facebook messages? Do you have anyone when he was making the call and threatening? Was there anyone hearing you? Did you record it? Was it recorded? Audio recording, video recording, whatever it is that you could do. This is we're in digital age now, to just safeguard yourself, because when the violence start happening, it's behoves of you, the victim, to begin to take note and begin to keep this evidence, keep all these pieces of evidence that are going on, that you feel your right has been violated or is being violated. You have to keep keeping them. You have to keep keeping them, because I've had a lot of cases of where women were beaten, battered by their husbands, their faces swollen, their legs broken, their head pulled, all kinds of evidences. And then I asked them, where are those? Did you take pictures? Did you do this? You know what they'll say to me? We lost the phone. I lost it. I lost the audio recording. I lost the video recording. I lost my phone, so I don't have any evidence. In such cases, it's quite difficult to prove in court, because it's going to be your word versus his word. And in law, it is said that he who allege must prove. If you assert that your life is being violated, your right is being violated, you must prove it to the court. It is not of the person, the perpetrator, or the accused to come and prove it. It is you who is asserting and alleging that your right was violated by Mr. A. then you must come and tell the court and adduce evidence by so evidence, by so tape, by so act in this area, in this place. This person did this and said this, and this is my evidence for this. That's when the court would now tend to believe you. Because if the court is not convinced, it will be difficult to convict an accused person or a defendant in court who is being faced with a charge of a gender-based violence that is technology facilitated. So we must learn to preserve evidence. I do a lot of gender cases, marriage cases, assault, sexual offenses. In my office as a prosecutor, I'm privileged to come in contact with case diaries that are being sent from police to us for us to give legal advice, whether to charge a suspect based on the evidence that is in the file. The evidence adduced in the file, is it sufficient for me to prosecute in court and gain conviction? Even if the suspect is seemingly to have committed such an offense in court, and my evidence is not valid, not sufficient, at that point in time, I'll write an advice to the Director of Public Prosecution to say that such an FIR against this suspect be terminated. Reason being that I don't have sufficient evidence to prosecute. So it's possible for a perpetrator to commit an offense online, but if you don't have an evidence to show to the police that police can investigate and get concrete evidence that you can tender in court, it will be difficult to prove such a case. So that's where the challenge is. So the preservation of evidence, preservation of facts, preservation of small details here and there that transpired while the violence was going on is very vital and key. Because we prosecutors, that's what we can use to prove our cases in court. If I don't have that, sorry to say, no matter how good it is, no matter if the judge saw the accused person committing the offense, the judge cannot live by that. In fact, let me tell you, Jane, in courts, where you have criminal cases ongoing, mostly offenses that are capital in nature. When I mean offenses that are capital in nature, that involves 21 years imprisonment and above, and then life imprisonment or death by hanging or death by execution. Those are capital offenses. They carry stiffer punishments. They are not ordinarily bailable. The court cannot ordinarily easily give bail for such cases because they are capital in nature. And then the law has laid down on grounds where such people can get bail. It must be an exceptional ground, like ill health. And then the case has not been filed in court for a long time. Or circumstances that the court may deem it fit that it is special enough for it to grant it. So you see, in such cases, even if you say this person caused my death online because of his acts, if you are proven before the court, if such a defendant is taken to court, at the point when he gets to court, he's no longer a perpetrator, he's no longer an accused person. At that point, he's a defendant. Before we used to call them accused, but the law has been amended to make it defendants. At that point, if he's asked to take his plea, that's to say you, so person, so that you thereby post a defamatory message or the images, private images of the victim to the world, which led to her death. The court will ask you, are you guilty or not guilty? Even if the defendant is guilty and he says he's guilty and he tells the court, I plead guilty, by law, the court is enjoined to enter a plea of not guilty. Why? Because you must prove it beyond reasonable doubt. Even if he tells the
Hello, Barrister Sarah, we can't hear you. We've lost you again. Yeah.
Hello, Jane, can you hear me? The court, by law, is enjoined to enter a plea of not guilty, so that the normal evidence taken in court, proving the case will go on before the court, so that the court can be able to say you have laid credible evidence that is believable for us to convict such a person. So you can see how important evidence is before a court. Concrete evidence that are believable, that are real, that are actually not fabricated evidence. In fact, let me tell you, if evidence is fabricated and it is made to look real before the court, and the court works with what it sees, it does not assume. It works with what you present, and if it is believable, the court will go ahead and convict such a person. So that's how important the preservation of evidence is. So every victim who has been violated in any way and any form, and you are listening to me and you are hearing me, and you are online, and your right is being violated, ensure there is a snap, ensure there's a video, ensure there's an audio, ensure there's a text messages. Sometimes we deliberately tell victims to send a text message so that the defendant can send a text message back in response, a reply. You know, the reply can indict such a defendant. Because when I send you a message and you reply me, some things you could be saying it to get at me, but you're admitting to what I'm trying to say, and I'm gathering evidence. So those are some of the ways we tell our victims, make sure you preserve evidence, online evidence, save them on your phone, send them to people to save it, so that even when it gets missing, or your phone gets lost or your phone is stolen, you have a backup from someone else. So that's how you preserve your evidence so that it can be reliable and dependable in courts.
All right. Thank you so much, Barrister Sarah. You mentioned a lot, and I'm sure that all our viewers are listening and they are learning. Like you said, evidence is very important, and you also, if you are on this life and your rights are being violated, it's important that you preserve evidence. It's important
Very,
that you
very
start,
vital.
yeah, that she should, like Barrister Sarah said, start documenting evidence, because we've all heard that. She said that even if you come to the court with that you were violated, the court is also going to ask the person that you're accusing to bring, even if the person admits, the person is to bring evidence that he did what he said he did, or she did what she said she did. So you, as a person, you that is alleging that you were violated, you have to prove it, and there's no way you can prove it without, if you've not been documenting evidence. So this is so amazing. I'm writing some of this down myself because mm. So what about situations where evidence is on disappearing messages or temporary content? I will answer this question. If for instance, like Barrister Sarah said, the court can even ask you, or your lawyer can ask you to send a new message to the person that you claimed is abusing you, so that you can get evidence, because like she said, some of what the person can say can be admissible as evidence in court. So even if the past messages has been deleted or wiped previously, it's important that you start creating opportunities for new evidence. If you plan on pursuing the case in court, it's important that you start gathering new evidences for, so that your case can be proved, and the defendant, like she said, no longer the accused, is convicted of that case. Thank you so much, Barrister Sarah. So those mistakes are things that people are doing without realizing. Some people can just go and meet a lawyer and being violated with no evidence. So I'm sure that many of us are learning so much, so much, so much. We'll also come back to this. We're working with time. So I would like to know, now that we have evidence, everybody who have established the fact that evidence is important for, even for both parties. Now, what the next thing is, where do we actually go with this information? This is where many survivors get stuck, knowing where to report and how the process works. Can you guide us through the reporting mechanisms available in Nigeria? Should someone go to the police, NAPTIP, the platform itself, or all three? What can survivors realistically expect when they report online gender-based violence? I know that there are different forms of gender-based violences, but I would like you to buttress on the what survivors can realistically expect when they report online gender-based violence. Then guide us through the reporting mechanisms that are available in Nigeria.
It's okay. Thank you for listening. The reporting mechanism, if you have been violated online, like Jane has said, as I've rolled them out before, preservation of evidence is very vital, is very key, because that's where your case starts from. If you come and explain to me and you don't have evidence, it's difficult for me because it's a criminal case. It's not civil case that you go to court and it's a balance of probability. This person said this, that person said this, the judge will weigh and weigh. No, the judge does not do that. It is not of the defendant to come and prove himself. It is you who is alleging that the defendant has actually committed the offense against you. You must prove it properly. Not just prove, but you must prove it well to the satisfaction and the belief of the court. So now, once your right is violated, or if your right has been violated, the first point of contact is to preserve the violation. That's the evidence of your violation, of you being violated. And then secondly, such evidence, you go to the police. Get a civil society if you can't go to the police directly or immediately. Get a second person. Get a witness. Sometimes when your right is being violated, sometimes let there be people to come and see that somebody is violating you. Involve them. Make them know. Let them be there. Let them hear. Let them see. There be somebody who can, when you go to court, in the amount of a 2 or 3 witnesses, a matter is established, right? There's always corroboration in court. If I say this is it, if someone else comes and say this is it, I was there, I saw, I heard, the court will tend to believe. So it's always good to have a witness. A witness could be an individual, a witness could be a document, a witness could be an exhibit. If I'm saying this, I have a book. How do you know I have a book? If not, when I show you the book, I'll be Jane. Will I just tell you I have book without you seeing book and you believe me that I have the book if you don't see the book? So that's what we're talking about, corroborating your evidence. Now, when you have such evidence, you have the police, you have NAPTIC. NAPTIC is the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons. Their act is there, which prohibits all such crimes, heinous crimes. We have the police, like I said. We have the NSCDC, they call them, popularly called civil defense, right? We have, in Kaduna State now, there's what we call CADVIS, Kaduna State Vigilante Services. They are security agencies by the state. It's a state apparatus that, of course, take care of violence against people and as well prevent violence, insecurity, and all of that in the state. So we have CADVIS. You can go and report to them. In Lagos, you have Amotekun. In other states, you have, in Kano, they call them Karota. Different states have their own security outlets to augment, to add up, to help and assist the police in their primary duty of protecting the rights, and life and safety and property of the people in the state. So it's good to report to the police, NSCDC, the local security agencies in the state, then NGOs who are partners in the fight against gender-based violence, who can run and fight the cause for such an individual whose right has been violated, should be reported to. Do Take Action is one. Jenny organization is one of it. And I know you people are specialized too in preventing violence of all sorts, helping women, helping children. So your organization is one of them. So those of you who are hearing me, Do Take Action is one CSO or NGO that can help. They may not do it directly, but they can collaborate with us from the Ministry of Justice. They can collaborate with the police. They can collaborate with SAC Center, that's the Sexual Assault Referral Center in the case of sexual violation, so that the victim can be taken for medical examination. So you can see it's a stakeholders approach. Everyone that is involved in this sector of protecting the rights of girls, women, hands are together, working together, ensuring that when you find such violation, report to the police, report to NSCDC, report to any security agency.
Barrister, we can't hear you anymore.
So you can see, it's good to go and report. People say if you go to the police will not safeguard me. Police will ask for money, but you have honest police. You have police who are truthful. That's why it's good to have an NGO to back you up. Have somebody that is pursuing and fighting the fight for you. Where an NGO can go, maybe an individual you may be afraid, but an NGO can take up the fight, have the support of the media. Sometimes some of the security agencies will be forced to do what they ought to do. So please don't be quiet. You have so many referral pathways, references that you can make reference to, so that when such an offense happens, you can call. Go to NAPTIC office in the state, go to police, go to the welfare. Like Kaduna, we have the Women Affairs and Social Development. They do issues on children too, issues that involve women and children too, violation too, and they can collaborate with us, lawyers in the state. Like I said, we have the multi-tier legal aid group in Kaduna State, Access to Justice for Children who are in conflict and contact with the law. They call us and we respond to such cases as they come. It could be online, it could be offline. So you see that there are so many reporting mechanisms that can be used to ensure that such right does not continue. Such violation does not continue. Such violation is prevented and stopped, is deterred. If the violator is deterred from continuing in violating the rights of such individuals. So they can always report.
Thank you so much, Barrister Sarah. You have mentioned multiple avenues. Like what you particularly said, that it is a stakeholders approach All the organizations, the NGO, the police, the civil society are all backing you up. So if you're someone who has been violated, your rights have been violated as a woman, as a girl, just know that you have a whole lot of people. You are not alone. You have a whole lot of people that you can run to for help. She mentioned preservation of evidence. It's important that you preserve evidence. That's why if you didn't take anything out from this like that, I think that's a very important point. Preserve evidence. Now the second one she mentioned is you have to go to the police, go to an NGO. Like she said, you could go individually, and the amount of effort the police might not encourage you. So in your state, wherever you're watching us from, there are multiple organizations, multiple NGOs who are championing the rights of women and girls and also fighting against gender-based violence. So you can go to the NGO before you go to the police so that they can aid you in your fight. Because some of the NGOs are also working with the media. In Abuja, for instance, where we have to take action. So if you're in Abuja and your rights have been violated, go to our on social media page. We're on all the social media platforms at Do Take Action. Our website is dotakeaction.org. You can contact us there. Our contact lines are on the website. You can contact us. We can aid you in the fight in getting justice and convicting your accuser or your person that violated you. Then also, Barrister Sarah, you mentioned, thank you so much. This was an empowering session. But I would like to ask, and I'm sure these questions are in some of our viewers' minds, which of these tends to be the most responsive or effective for digital gender-based violence cases? You mentioned the police, you mentioned NAPTIP, I think you mentioned NHRC, you mentioned NGO, but which of these tends to be the most effective for digital gender-based violence cases?
Okay, I would categorically say Jane, presently because they are all working. But you see, majorly the police have been the one that has been saddled with responsibility to investigate such cases, honestly. Because if it's to end in court, you end up having the police who investigated the case to come and testify in court. Because he's the one that investigated the case, took evidence, went to the scene of the crime, depends. So most of the time, if the NGO comes in, at the end tail of it, it must go to the police before it gets to me. I can be involved by the stage of the police just to follow up to see that the police does what they ought to do. But it ends at the table of the police, honestly. So I would say they are the major because, in fact, if you look at their act, it provides for them to do such things, protect, investigate, and carry out, and all of arrest and all of those things. So majorly is their own, but I can't say it's left for them alone. That's why we have stakeholders like you people. NSCDC, so they are given a fiat to do that. They can do that. CADVIS too, like Kaduna State Vigilante Services, they have that fiat to do that. But it's majorly the right of the police because when your evidence is preserved, the next thing is to ensure that it gets to the hand of the investigator, who is the police officer. It could be the police officer, it could be the NSCDC. When I mean NSCDC, Nigeria Civil Defense Service Corps, NSCDC, that's Civil Defense. NSCDC, they are also engaged in doing that too. But police are the primary, based on their acts, they are the primary responder of all of these things because the acts enacting, establishing them gave them that power. So as it is, most of the time, it is majorly the police, but the police cannot achieve success without the help of all of the stakeholders. That's what I mean. Because to be honest, when this violation happens, it's at the community level, not in the presence of the police, not in the forefront. It's at the individual comfort zone, at the privacy of the individual, at the corner of the individual, not in the forefront most times, right? It's when it starts coming up and start cropping up, then the society begins to see it. So that's why it's a synergy, it's a collaboration. That's where you achieve the success. But the police majorly, and then the prosecutors, which I do.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Barrister Sarah. So, like you said the police are the first point of contact for a victim for a victim. So, the police, then you mentioned NGO, that's where we come in to take action as an organization and our fight against gender based violence. Then you also mentioned the civil society, NSCDC, Then I also like to there should be a step-by-step breakdown. Help us demystify the process. So it begins. What is the first step? Then what is the second step? From reports to investigation to prosecution. That's for someone who is listening. And there should be a step to these things. What should someone do while they are waiting for their case to progress? What is the first step, the second step, and how long does this? What is the time frame between the steps?
Okay, Jane. Like I said earlier, like I've reiterated over and over again, first is the preservation of the evidence. Identifying the violation itself, that's one. Knowing that your right is being violated, that's one. Secondly, preservation of the evidence of the violation, that's two. Then three, knowing the right organization or security agency to report the matter to, depending on your first point of contact. But like I said, it's good to have evidences, have exhibits, have people as witness who can stand for you and say, when you're saying this, and the person is saying, the perpetrator is saying is a lie. The other witness will say, I was there, I heard you, I saw you, I saw the document when you gave it. This is the document. Those are evidence to collaborate. So once you have that and you have reported and the case is ongoing, it's not for you to just report and go back and go and sit down. Ensure you follow the police to ensure that they do what is right. Ensure that the NGO who is supporting you and backing you is pursuing the case to ensure that the police do the needful and they do the right thing. So after the police have investigated the case and they have realized that they have a prima facie case, when we say a prima facie case, it means that you have evidence to produce, to adduce before the courts. So if there's a prima facie case that has been established to say that, yes, I can succeed, there's a likelihood that if I take my evidence to court, I will succeed. Then the police will now frame what we call an FIR. FIR means first information report. It is framed at the police station, state CID, wherever the case is being taken to as the investigation is ongoing. After the investigation is done and they realize that there's a case you can answer, they'll frame an FIR and then take you before a lower court for cognizance. When I mean cognizance, it means we have seen that there's a prima facie case. Remember what I told you what prima facie case means? It means there's a likelihood that there's sufficient evidence for me to prosecute this case. So once they've established that, they take the case to the courts for cognizance. Cognizance means that, okay, this case is before this court, we have seen a case, and the magistrate will now look at the FIR and then read it out to the suspect at that point or the perpetrator, and then create that the suspect be remanded in prison for a case that is not bailable. If it's a case that is bailable, the lawyer to the defendant, who is the accused person, can there and then, if it's a lower court, you can orally apply for bail application, citing authorities that gives you the leverage to do that, the ground to do that, to support your application. The court by itself can so moto grant the bail application with some conditions to be fulfilled. But the court can by its own discretion say, no, I'll keep you for some days. So it depends. And it depends on the offenses, like I've said earlier. After that is done, the person is remanded in prison or be kept in police detention. Once the evidence are adduced, the case diary will be forwarded to the Ministry of Justice, where I work. And after that is done, the Ministry of Justice will give a legal advice to the fact that the case should be prosecuted in court. And if there is no sufficient evidence, I will now write from the Ministry of Justice to say that the FIR that was raised at the lower court, magistrate court, be terminated. That's the provision of the law for that. That if you don't have sufficient evidence, you can terminate that FIR. That FIR means that to some certain extent, there's an answer you can give to the court to say that you committed such an offense. So if that FIR is terminated, it means the case is over against you. You can't go on with it. But if I say, based on the evidence, my advice is that the suspect be charged for cyberbullying, stalking, online sexual harassment, cyber defamation. At that point in time, I can now draft what is called a charge. These are processes that are ongoing. to ensure that justice is served. It's all part of the process to ensure that the defendant, who is the accused, the perpetrator, is prosecuted legally as is provided by law in court. Mind you, he still has his right as a defendant to a lawyer to defend him. He can choose not to, he can choose to. It depends, it's his own. So once he appears before the court and a charge has been drafted, he will now take a plea of guilt or no guilty. That's when they will read the charge to him that you is a so person on so day at about so time in 2020 something. You took this person to this place and did this, and then you posted it online. The court will now ask you, are you guilty or not guilty of such offense? The defendant most of the time will answer not guilty, even if they've committed it. That's when the process of taking evidence in court begins. Now the prosecutor is saddled with responsibility to prove his case beyond reasonable doubt for the judge to believe. It's at that point the prosecutor has proved his case, and then the defendant too has been called upon to enter his own defense. He will adduce evidence to exonerate himself. Him adducing evidence to exonerate himself is not a yardstick that me, I must prove my case beyond reasonable doubt. I will not rely my own case on that of the defendant. I can't do that. I must make sure that I prove my case with concrete evidence, like I've said earlier. So it's in that point, after I've proved my case, it's a long process. You go and come back. The proceedings in court is that today, if the case is coming up, there's what we call mention. The court will just mention it and say, this case exists. How do you plead, guilty or not guilty, not guilty? Then the next adjourned date, it could be 1 week, it could be 2 weeks, it could be 1 month, depends on how busy the court is. Depends on the schedules of the court. Depends on the number of the cases the judge is handling. That could slow down a case. That could hamper the progress of a case. So you can say how I am marshalling them out. So at that point, the court will now give you a date, which will be agreed between you and lawyers, or the lawyers to say that this date is convenient. Then you go back and come back at the next adjourned date. That's when the proving of the case starts. When I'm done with my own proving of the case, the defendant can enter his own defense. And when he's done, he can call witnesses of his own choice, or he can enter his defense by himself for himself. And after the courts have taken both sides and taken evidence, the court will now reserve for written address, adoption of address. That's where we argue in paper to say, because of this evidence I've adduced, the court should convict him. And then he will not adduce his own evidence to say, because of my evidence, I should be discharged and acquitted. So whatever the court believes in, with the evidence it has, that's when the court will either convict or discharge and acquit the defendant. So that's how the procedure works. It's a long process. For the other lady I spoke to you about that she had a relationship with that guy, it was just a short process. Within how many months it was done. You see, that was not too severe. And the guy felt remorseful for what he has done. So that ended the case on time. But for a case like rape, it takes a long time. You go and come, bring evidence to come and testify and all of that. So that can take it. So I cannot tell you the duration because it's not in my power to know. And it's not in the power of the court to know. And mind you, nature comes in. A lawyer can be sick, a judge can be sick. A lawyer can go for an official assignment in Abuja. The judge too can go for an official assignment. So it means that case cannot go on that day. So that's why you see sometimes cases delay in court. It's not like it is the fault of the lawyer or the judges, but circumstances came in between and caused the case to be delayed. So these are the procedures you follow till the case is ended and the court will either convict or discharge. So that's how it works. It's a process. It doesn't happen just one day. If you are lucky at the point of reporting and the perpetrator felt he's remorseful, he'll pay compensation. If the offense is not capital in nature, you can easily resolve it. There's what we call restorative justice. The damage that has been done is not too harmful, so you can have a middle ground to see how you can settle it. So that's how the procedure is, and that's how it works.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Sarah. So let's bring this home with concrete action steps. If someone watching this is currently experiencing online gender-based violence, so the immediate step that they should take today is identifying the crime that I'm being violated. My rights are being violated. Then preservation of evidence. You go ahead to start preserving evidence, as that is very important. Then you also go to the police and also seek the services of an NGO organization to aid you. But you can go to the police with the NGO, then also civil society and anybody under the body organization under NSCDC. Then you also that you said that is a third step, so you must identify the victim, the right organization to report the matter to. So you can choose to go to an NGO first, so that will aid you in going to the police. Then the
That's
matter will
right.
be taken up. Then also, you also mentioned that when the person reports, it's not enough to just report. You have to follow up the case with the police, follow up the case with the NGO to make sure that that they are pushing your case forward. All right. I think that's the step. I hope I'm not missing any other thing. Okay. Thank you so much for those wonderful steps. The next thing on this agenda is for those who want to support survivors, friends, family, advocates. How can we be helpful without making things worse? That's the first question. Then the second one would be, are there measures? I want to ask about safety for someone that is watching this live now. Are there measures to when someone reports, especially if their perpetrator knows them? Is there a risk of retaliation? Are there protective measures that exist? Hello, Barrister, sorry, can you hear me? Do you need me to come again? Your mic is
Yes, I need the first question. So what's the first question?
okay. The first question is for those who want to support survivors, friends, family,
Okay.
advocates. How can we be helpful without making things worse?
Okay.
Like
Okay.
someone comes to us that they are going through sextortion or stuffs like that. How can we be helpful without making things worse?
Okay. One of the things you must do while working in these gender-based violence preventive measures, being an activist for this cause, you must confidentiality is very vital because some of them don't want these things to go out. Anyway, even if it has gone out, they still want you to still protect them in whatever way. They have to feel safe with you. They have to be sure that whatever they tell you, they're secured, even if they're the ones, even if they made mistake. Let's assume a lady by herself because she's in love with a guy. It's wrong though. He's doing video of herself, nakedness, and then because the man, they are both in good times and she's doing that with him, it's not right. But they're doing that with him. And then all of a sudden the relationship becomes sour and then he starts blackmailing her and trying to post the video online, or even he has done that. At that point in time, it's for you to protect that victim. Make the victim feel safe. Make the victim feel comfortable that they can tell you anything. Make them feel that they are protected and they are secured with you. That you will not go and start gossiping and talking about it. Even if the world knows, you will not be part of those who are trying to say, hey, have you heard? Did you see what this person do against Jane? Did you hear what this guy went to do? Was she not the one that slept with him? Was she not the one that did? No, we don't throw play games at this point. At that point, the person is already traumatized. The person is feeling pain that I'm being violated. It's for you to be a succor for that person. At that point, if the person is okay and the person is able to talk out with you, that's the point that you can now help to seek for redress in court. Honestly, because it's high time we begin to start taking these cases seriously so that some of this bullying, some of this cyber bullying, cyber defamatory messages and all of that will stop. Because a lot of time people are not going to say, I will not do it, let's just go. I don't want to be known, I don't want to be seen, I don't want to be heard. But if you keep at it, the perpetrator will continue. He will not just do it alone, he will do it to someone close to you. So that's why we must report. My slogan is, if you see something, say something, don't be quiet. We can choose to protect the weaknesses, we can choose to protect you. You can be protected. But all we're saying is that please report, don't be quiet. See something, say something. If you hear it, to prevent it, you must say it so that the person can be prevented. But most of the time, most of the cases I've gotten is when it has happened. The damage has been done. You're trying to cure it. You're trying to, this place is opening, you're trying to cover this place, you're trying to cover that place. And sometimes it has gone all out. That's why people must learn to speak out. If you are hearing me today and you're being violated by a man or a woman, offline, online, please don't keep quiet. I wouldn't want you to die. We don't want you to die like those two, like that boy in America that died of sextortion. I don't know, Jane, if you know of this case. Two Nigerian boys faked, Facebook page and befriended this young boy thinking he was a girl. They presented themselves like a girl. And this boy got communication with them and asked to send nude. He sent his nude picture to them. And they started blackmailing him and asking him to give them money. And they were like, if you don't give us money, We will do something to you. And then the boy spoke to his parents not long. They were already disturbing him. They had given them before they were disturbing him. So at that point, those of you who are listening, hear me, oh. When you're with someone and the person telling you, show me your breast, show me your body, show me your private part, show me this, and you are doing it innocently, and you don't know that this person is actually looking for a way to blackmail you. You must be careful if you are involved in that kind of thing. You have to be careful because I have numerous cases of this. That was when the blackmail became so much that this boy could not help it. He had to share it with, I think the boy was 17 or 13 years old. The boy had to share it with his parents. It was when he shared it with his parents, he was still afraid. And the parents went out and they now called him again. The threat was going to be much. At that point, the boy now told them that you're disturbing me, I'll kill myself. Do you know what they told him? Kill yourself. And that's how the boy took gun and shot himself and he died. With the help of Nigerian government and American government, they extradited those boys to America. Those two Nigerian boys, brothers. And they've been sentenced. They're serving their lifetime in America there. So you can see the danger of keeping quiet can lead to someone taking his life. Because of why? Digital online violation. We don't want that to happen. So you must report. So again, another thing of victim support services. Yes, we have a lot of services people support. We have those for trauma healing. I have a lot of lawyers who are involved in that and also NGOs who do that. So Jane, anyone contacts you, you can call me and we can see how we can synergize together and see how we can help such victims. And then sometimes there are compensations. Like the conviction I got yesterday in court, the victim was compensated, even though it wasn't much. But the family going home to see that whatever trauma, there's some small money to cushion me, to heal my sickness, to take care of my whatever disease or whatever ailment that would have come. So you see that the victim is being taken into consideration. And there's protection for the victim too. And there's safety if they can only report. There's what we call victim protection order. It's in the VAB Act, whereby if a victim feels threatened by the act of a person, even though you have reported the perpetrator and is threatening you, you can go to court to get an order restraining such person from threatening you or likely to threaten you. You can go to get a court order, and the court will bring to the notice of the perpetrator to say that if anything happens to this person, you are the person who will hold responsible. We have the victim protection law in Kaduna State to protect victims. So there are numerous ways or measures that have been taken to protect victims from such violence.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Sarah, for that amazing session. Then we also, like you said, confidentiality, protect the victim. It's not a time if someone comes to report to you that they are going through this or that. It's not a time to play the victim, the blaming game. We have to make them feel safe. Like she said, also if you are someone who is going through any form of violence now, it's important that you say something about it and speak up. Then she also mentioned if you are in a romantic relationship with anybody, it's important that you take into account that this relationship can go sour in case you are engaging in any form of nude and stuff. So you should keep in mind that the relationship can go sour and that person can use those stuff to blackmail you. But if that's for prevention, just for you to be aware of that. But if it has already happened, it's important that you speak up. There are bodies, for instance, like I've mentioned, our organization to take action. We are also working joining the fight against gender-based violence. Visit our website, dotakeaction.org. If you are watching us and you have such cases, visit our website, dotakeaction.org. Go to our social media pages, do take action. Send us a message and we will take it up we will take up the case. All right, then we're moving on to the next. I think I remember asking a second question, which was, so let me get my second question. We've covered the legal framework. We've also covered evidence collection. We've covered how to report. Then I know I mentioned something about if the perpetrator, for instance, if the perpetrator finds out that you have reported to the police, is there ways that the victim can be protected against the perpetrator itself? Are there laws that protect the victim against the perpetrator so that it doesn't come back to harm? Just help us like in 1 minute or 2 minutes so we can move on to the next question.
Of course, like I said earlier, that we have the victim protection law that protects a person who has given um, any valuable information about a violation. Of course, the confidentiality we've talked about, we'll keep it. And then we'll make moves to know that if anything happens to this person, you are the person who will hold responsible. We do that. If it's to move the victim from the area where the violation keeps persisting, we can as well look for collaboration to do that. We have shelters, we have home, mostly when they are minors, to keep them. And then if they are adults, we look for people who are in support to help such people get over it. So it could be psychological, it could be emotional, it could be whatever help the person needs. Sometimes we go down to financial, sometimes it could be economical violation. And the economical violation can cause someone to be, very vulnerable. So sometimes there are ways the person can be empowered financially in little ways that we can by various collaboration that I've always spoken about, the stakeholders doing things together. If I'm not doing it, I can call on somebody who is in line with doing such a thing to help such a victim. So there are ways we do that. It's not a perfect system, like I said. It's not 100% system, but the little here, little there, we're making progress and we're achieving successes.
Okay, thank you so much, Barrister Sarah. Then before we move on to the Q&A session, I want to zoom out a bit. What needs to change in our laws, in law enforcement? We've spoken about prevention, we've spoken about evidence, spoken about so many things. But what needs to change in our laws, in law enforcement, in society, to better protect women and girls online? Because what our discussion this year is focused on online technology facilitated gender-based violence, and what role can everyday people play in pushing for that change? What needs to change in our laws, in our law enforcement, in our society, and how can everyday people play a role in pushing for that change?
Okay, if you heard me when I was speaking earlier, I said no system is perfect, right? As you grow older, you learn better. You see better ways to resolve problems. So we can say no system is perfect. But we can do better in implementing it.
Barrister Sarah, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Yeah, the law did not envisage and the law did not take care of. You know, that's why I said it's a call for amendments. Um, some of the cyber crimes that are taking place now, they're becoming very high profile cyber crimes that probably the law did not envisage. So we're calling for amendments so that such crimes can be taken into consideration. Because mind you, if you say something is an offense and it's not prescribed by the law, that thing is not. So, like I said, no system is perfect. Amendment of laws is necessary. Year in, year out, laws could be amended to suit in what needs to be put in. Like, for instance, in Kaduna State, when rape became very rampant and there was agitation by stakeholders, mostly NGOs, pushing for stiffer and more stiffer punishment. In 2022, the governor back then saw the need to amend the law for rape. It was life imprisonment before. But when the pressure came and the increase of this violation came more, the law was amended to the punishment for rape, if you are convicted, is castration and death. Section 258 of the Penal Code Law of Kaduna State, 2020, as amended, provides for.
We can't hear you again, Barrister Sarah. We can't hear you. Hello, can you hear me?
So we can see that as things evolve over time and we realize new trends and realize that there were omissions, there were things that were not taken into consideration when the law was being, enacted. There has to be an
Okay.
amendment to bring in the new, you know.
All right. Thank you so much, Barrister Sarah, for that. Then you mentioned high profile cyber crimes are cropping up in our society today, and we're calling for amendment. We are calling for amendment of some of the laws as a result of the high-profile cyber crimes. And then also we will also like to use this opportunity to also advocate that and talk to those who are handling our policies. They should come up with better policies for against gender-based violence, especially technology facilitated gender-based violence. So I would like to ask Barrister Sarah, can you hear me? Barrister Sarah, are you still here?
Yes, I'm here, Jane. I can hear you.
Okay,
Sorry,
okay.
interruptions keep coming. Yes.
Okay, so I would like to ask for our, like I was saying, for our audience involved in advocacy, these are concrete. They are concrete demands that we need to start pushing for. For instance, you made mention of the law that was amended to the consequence for rape is now castration and death. And that could happen because an organization advocated for amendment of the existing laws. So we're also using this platform to push our audience who are involved in advocacy to demand for concrete laws, amendment of some laws so that we can better prevent technology facilitated gender-based violence. Then also, I want to ask, how can ordinary citizens support these reforms? I know you've mentioned the need for law amendments and how the law is doing the best that they can, but how can ordinary citizens support these reforms?
Okay, is to join hands together, support NGOs who are doing this work to sensitize the community, to advocate for violence-free society. I, in particular, after courts, I go to schools to sensitize students on the need to prevent violence of any sort. It could be sexual, gender, any form of violence, religious violence. I do that often every week, sometimes 3 times in a week, to different schools in the state, in Kaduna State. So individuals, I'm not an NGO, I work with the government, but I take that as a personal, my own contribution, because I work in this field and I see how people are being violated every now and then. As I speak to you, it's possible that someone is being violated now, either a young girl or a woman is being violated. So that's why we must all put our hands together. Everyone that is listening, that is hearing, do your little corner, drop a post, say no to gender-based violence on your plat on your. If you go to my Facebook page, I've been posting every day on prevention of gender-based violence. You see, I'll always say no to GBV, say no to gender-based violence, say no to um, technological facilitated gender-based violence, because it kills, it hurts, it destroys a person's life, person's image. Say no to it. Violence in itself is not good. It's a violation. It's against the fundamental right of a human being. Whoever it is, be it a small child, be it an adult, be it a grown man, an old woman, a youth, a man, anybody, violation of your rights as it is provided in the Constitution, Chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution, which is the ground norm that provides that protect the right of every individual in this country. So that's why we must all, in churches, pastors must preach it. I do sensitization for churches. I do sensitization for community engagement, to be ambassadors in our various communities to ensure that violence is prevented in any form. What kind of violence? GBV, religious, gender-based violence, whatever violence that it is, we want to say no to it. And we're calling on everyone that is hearing. Don't just post on Facebook, don't post on all your handles. Say, put it this, we are doing 16 days activism. We are sensitizing the world. We want the world to be aware that, yes, violence goes on every time, every day, but we're setting aside these 16 days to ensure that the public are aware. People join hands together with the public. What you are doing, you are contributing your quota. What Drew Action is doing, Jane, what you are doing right now is part of what we're saying. Discussions continue. People should go out there and say no. Go to the market and say no to gender-based violence. As you're walking on the street, you are in church. But the tool of young people in this time and age is our phone, is the digital, is online. So let's make leverage on the online activities we do to say no to gender-based violence. Because I'm telling you, if we amplify it on social media, we'll get a wide coverage of people saying say no to gender-based violence. We'll get a better society. The prevention will be more. Protection of victims will be more. People will be more aware that this is gender-based violence. I bet you that people that are going through gender-based violence, some of them don't even know that they're being violated. So that's why with this sensitization, with this advocacy we're doing now, making people to be aware that it does exist. Say no to it. Don't be silent. Let cultural practice and cultural norms not stop you. Be quiet. Oh, if you speak, the society will slap us, laugh at you. They will shame you. You'll not get married. Who says so? Some of the great people in the world are people that have been violated before. So that's what we're saying. Speak out. Don't be quiet. Ensure that SGBV, TFGBV, that's technology facilitated gender-based violence, is prevented by all means.
All right. Thank you so much, Barrister Sarah, for your amazing work in against gender-based violence, especially technology facilitated gender-based violence, and for your work in your work offline, going to communities, going to schools to sensitize people. Like she said, it's very true. Some victims and that are facing gender-based violence are not aware that they are being violated. They are not even aware that the violence that is happening to them is also a crime. So there's a need for everyone to come together. If you're watching us now, you're wondering what is my next step? What should I do? You can start from where you are now. You can log into to takeaction.org, visit our website. You can navigate to inclusion, empowerment. Then you can register as a grassroots development champion for gender-based violence project. There, with that project, you can host a one-day sensitization program in your community, in your school, wherever you are, so that we can start sensitizing people on gender-based violence, sensitized, because some of them are not aware that what they are going through is actually uh, that what they are going through gender-based violence. So you can be the bridge. So go to dotakeaction.org today and register as a Do Grassroots Development Champion. Host a one-day awareness workshop. Is a sensitization awareness workshop to increase the knowledge and understanding of gender, sexuality, rights, and gender-based violence. So this violence can range from forced and early marriages to the physical, mental, sexual, digital. So host this sensitization campaign in your community so that people can be more aware of gender-based violence and how to recognize it. Okay, when they see one. All right, so before we move on to we're going to move on to the question and answer session. And because of time, I think we'll just take one more question. Thank you so much, Barrister Sarah, for coming to this live session. This has been an incredibly informative live session. So I would like to just drop the first question. Can a man be charged for sharing nude photos of his ex-girlfriend? So, what if the police refuse to take my report seriously? So, I think these are the only questions we'll be taking. Can I report anonymously? So, this is very important. Someone is asking, can I report online gender-based violence anonymously? Then, can a man be charged for sharing nude photos of his ex-girlfriend? And what if the police refuse to take my report seriously? So, which of them do you want to answer first, Barrister Sarah?
Okay. Can you report for anonymous violation? Okay, you can report, but you want to be anonymous. So who did they hold? If you are going to court to go and prove a case, if you don't have a face to somebody coming to say I've been violated, the court has to see the person that has been violated. The court has to respond. One beautiful thing about prosecution in court is that when you are saying someone has committed an offense, in a criminal offense, and you are saying that this person, the court will say, you, so person, and so day you did this thing. When you are giving evidence in court, we ask you, look at this person, can you recognize the person? That's where the evidence begins from. If you say yes, the case will go on. If you say no, you don't recognize him, then how do you give evidence against the person you don't know? So you can't be anonymous, because how do you arrest the person? Because for a crime to take place, there must be someone who is committing the crime, and then there must be somebody who the crime is being committed against. Am I correct? So the court has to see both persons. You can't just go and say you're reporting, and then you don't want anybody to know. But let's say for a woman who is being beaten by her husband every now and then, and the neighbors are seeing and they are hearing, the neighbors can go and report. And the police will keep the identity of the neighbor until when the case gets into court proceedings, and then the neighbor is called to come and testify. So it means you must have to come out. But what we're saying that we will seek for how you can be protected. If you feel that your life will be threatened, we'll raise it up before the court, and the court will set a warning to the other party. If something happens to this person, we'll hold you responsible. You'll be protected, but you must come out because you have to speak out. And a voice cannot just speak without the face. Someone must see. Except if it's not perpetrated against you, you are reporting on behalf of someone.
Okay,
So
so our second question: what if the police refuse to take my report seriously? Then I'll just merge both questions. Can a man be charged for sharing nude photos of his ex-girlfriend? Ex-girlfriend.
when you say photos, what do you mean? Is it just my
Nude,
picture alone? I have a boyfriend. He has my picture and he just post it. What do they mean by that? Is it
nude
nude
photo.
photo? It's a crime. It's an offense. A very big one. It's a very big one. It's a very big offense because that's intruding into your privacy. Nobody has a right. It's a violation of your fundamental right. You have a right to your privacy as the law provides for. The ground norm, the Constitution said you have a right to your privacy. You have a right to your privacy. So if
So,
someone violates that, he has violated you, and you can go to court, and the person will be charged for such offense.
all right, Barrister Sarah, I know you mentioned in subsequent session, you mentioned there are some crimes that are committed against individual, but the person that committed the crime may not even know that it is now a state law. So do you have an example of crimes that could be classified as crimes against the individual or crimes against the state law? Or
Okay, the verb law now, or the verb act, provides it could be shared accommodation, mostly for spouses. Before, the man can just pack the woman's load and throw it outside that she should pack and leave the house. It's common. I'm sure growing up you would have heard or seen, right? A man feels he has the right to do that because he's the one that married the woman and brought her to the house. But by the verb law, that's an offense. That's a crime. So if a man is caught doing that, he can be arrested and be taken to court and be charged. Abandonment of wife and children was not a crime before, though it's wrong, but it was not legislated on. But the verb law provides for that. If you abandon your wife and children, and it's reported and it is proven in court, and conviction is given, you'll be liable to imprisonment for, I think, 1 year or 2 years or so. There are certain provisions that were not in our laws before, but because of the gender activity that is ongoing on, the law is beginning to see that this was a crime. There's what we call economic violence. A lot of women have been violated economically. You just say, your man will just say, give me money by force. The man will carry your ATM and just go and carry your money from your account. It demands your money like he owns it after you have worked for it. If you go to that verb law, it's a crime. It's a crime. So you can see that a lot of things people do, not knowing that is a crime, that you don't know. They say ignorance of the law is not what? Is not an excuse. So if you are caught committing such offenses, the law will catch up with you. So that's why we're saying say no to gender-based violence. Don't be silent. Speak out. Save someone. Save somebody. Save your neighbor. Save your sister. Save your daughter. Save your son by speaking out. Don't look at the gender stereotype, the traditional stereotypes we've always had, the patriarchal nature of our society that makes you think that this is how it is. You should be quiet as a woman. They should beat you and slap you. You should be quiet, be patient for in sickness and in health, in good time and in bad time. In death, people are killing people now because of gender-based violence. Now people are dying in the sake of, oh, I don't want to leave. I'm not an advocate of divorce. I'm happily married with children. And I'm glad God gave me the husband that he gave me. And I want marriages to stay. And I want marriages to last. I'm a child of God. I'm a believer. And I believe in staying together. But if the relationship that you are in will cost you your life, I'd rather have you move out. I'd rather have you go separated and go and think of your life. Instead of us to carry your corpse, trying to preserve your marriage and then you die. What will you say to God? Even the children you're trying to keep, what will you say to them tomorrow? So those are the things we are saying. As a woman, you're hearing me. As a young girl, you are dating a guy and he's already slapping you and he's beating you. What are you doing there? The man that slaps you while you're cutting, he will beat the hell out of you when you're married. We've seen of that often. He will change. I love him. He's my best. In fact, there's this narrative among young girls that if a boy does not beat you, if a man does not slap you, he does not love you. That is a lie from the pit of hell. That's not love. Whether you're a Muslim or a Christian, that's not love. That's evil. So if you are listening to me and your right is being violated, please don't keep quiet. Speak out. Speak out. If you see something, say something. Say no to gender-based violence. Don't die in silence. Look for help. It could be trauma healing. It could be psychological and emotional healing you need. You just need someone to talk to stay off that violence that you're going through. You could get a headway. There are people that have just come in the process of report alone, we resolve it. In the process of complaint, resolve the violence. But there are some we have to tell them, this one, go to court. So we're there to help you. Do Take Action is there to help you. So please speak out, okay, and report.
Okay, thank you so much, Barrister Sarah. So, for what you've said so far. So, we're at time, but before we close, legal rights and digital safety, what would it be? So,
I didn't get you, Jane.
I said, if you could leave our audience with one key message about their legal rights and their digital safety, what would it be? Your one key message for our audience.
Okay. If you are listening to me and you are hearing me, I'm giving you practical safety tips for both women and girls online. Things you can do to help yourself and protect yourself online. Use strong and unique password and enable Facebook to ensure that your data and information are protected. Adjust your privacy setting on social medias so that you don't give leverage to anybody, any dick and Harry to get into your private life or your private information. Limit public exposure of your personal information. There's some of your personal things that don't need to go out because it's when people get some of this personal information, they use it to harm you. You have to be watchful and be mindful of the things we post on our social media. Be
Barrister
cautious with
Sarah,
sharing images or personal documents. Yes, can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you now.
Use digital tools. Yes, use digital tools to dictate impersonation and deepfake risks online so that you can prevent yourself. Gender justice in Nigeria is a digital era. It requires strong legal framework, effective law enforcement agency, public awareness, empowerment of women and girls, safe and confidential reporting pathways, as said before, with proper knowledge of rights, remedies, reporting. Women and girls can navigate online space more safely and confidently. So please stay safe online and watch out and be careful and preserve evidence. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Barrister Sarah. That is some powerful tips that you've given to us. So, like everyone, so here are your key takeaways. You have legal rights. So, the Nigerian law provides protection against digital gender-based violences. So, if you are not aware of some of the laws that provides protection, you can just go to the VAP Act, like Barrister Sarah has mentioned over and over again. It's important that if you are watching this live, you should go through the VAP Act. I think that was passed in 2015. So everyone here should go through the, that act so that you'll be able to see what what are the crimes, what are the punishments against some technology facilitated gender-based violence acts. Then also the number two is evidence. You have to document everything. Document everything. Evidence matters, like Barrister Sarah keeps saying in this life. You have to document evidence. Then number three is you are not alone. You should know that there are institutions, there is help for you. If you are experiencing any form of gender-based violence, you can log on to dotakeaction.org and you can reach out to our social media pages, Do Take Action, reach out to us via our DMs, and we're going to get back to you as soon as possible. So if you are going through any form of violence, one thing you should know that you are not alone. There are resources to help you. There are laws to help you get there are laws to help you pass judgment against your violator. There are also organizations, like I mentioned, our organization do take action that exist to help you get justice. Okay, so we're also going to leave in the description box some hotline. We're going to leave our websites, we're going to leave our social media pages, so you can just go to the description box and get all the information that you need. So you can share this video. Someone needs this information, save these resources, go through the act like Barrister Sarah has mentioned. If you know someone who may need this information, share this video with them and speak up. Barrister Sarah keeps mentioning that we all speak up. If you see something, you say something, even though that when if even though you could report to the police if you see something, and they may still have to wait for the person who is being violated to come and make the actual report. But it's still important for us to speak up wherever we see violence going on in our society and in our community. Then also we have to support survivors, like Barrister Sarah mentioned. Protect the victim, make them feel safe. It's not a time for you to share. If a survivor shares their stories with you, it's not a time for you to spread it everywhere. Make them feel safe and connect them with the relevant bodies that will help them access justice. Then also don't forget to join the movement. It's still hashtag 16 days. Do hashtag do take action, safe spaces, strong voices, unite to end digital violence against women and girls. A massive thank you, massive gratitude to Barrister Sarah Kajere Peters for this crucial information. Thank you to everyone who has joined us. Remember, your knowledge. Remember, the knowledge of your rights is power. There are laws that exist to protect you, and do not suffer in silence. The 16 days of activism continues, and so does our fight and to take action for gender justice continues. Stay safe, stay informed, and keep taking action. Goodbye for now.
So I cannot reliably tell you that this is what